At my cousin's birthday celebration, my sister handed out party favors to everyone she considered important. My daughters received a gift bag with a sticky note attached that read, "Try harder next year." We didn't create a scene. We simply left quietly the next morning. Later, my sister opened her front door and screamed so loudly a neighbor ended up calling the police. I wish I could say it surprised me. I wish I could tell you that when I saw what my daughter received, my heart dropped, or the world seemed to freeze, like those overly dramatic scenes in movies. But honestly, it felt like something I had been anticipating, not in a wishful or optimistic sense, but in that heavy, sinking way you feel when the inevitable finally arrives. The party took place at my sister's house, a place that looked like it had been pulled straight off a Pinterest dream board. Giant balloon displays, coordinated in matching hues, a dessert station so elaborate it looked like it had a publicist, the birthday twins wearing coordinated shirts that read, "Born to Shine." Children ran wild with embroidered party bags clutched like treasure chests. My daughter held on to mine. She's 7. She wore the glittery headband she'd picked out herself that morning, the one that, in her words, made her feel like a galaxy. She'd been anxious before we got there, as she always is in big groups, but she practiced saying happy birthday twice during the drive. She even made 2 small cards, one for each cousin, carefully drew stars on them, and signed them with love. I was proud of her just for walking through the door. My husband and I stuck close to the snack table, making awkward conversation with people we barely recognized. I tried not to notice how my sister barely looked at us, how my mom gave me that stiff, warning smile that meant, "Don't cause a scene." How my dad offered a single nod before turning his attention back to slicing the ham like it demanded surgical precision. Then came the gift bags, each one decorated with glittery names, filled with stuffed animals, bubble wands, customized water bottles, and tiny keychains with the child's first initial. One by one, the kids lit up and tore into them like it was Christmas morning. Finally, one was handed to my daughter. A plain white paper bag, no sparkle, no name, just a crooked sticky note stuck to the front, in my sister's unmistakable handwriting. "Try harder next year." My daughter stared at it, like she was trying to understand it differently, like maybe there was something inside that would make sense of it. She reached in, a snapped crayon, an old eraser, and a single peppermint candy that looked like it had been buried in someone's handbag for weeks. That was everything. I watched her throat tighten. She looked over at me, and I felt her small hand inch toward mine, as if preparing for impact, as if she thought maybe she'd done something wrong. Then the adults laughed. My sister was the first, that loud, pointed laugh she does when she wants to prove she's running the show. "She's been acting out recently," she said, waving it off like it was cute, interrupting. Talking back, crying over tiny things. "This is just a little wake-up call," my mother chuckled, honestly. "It's good for her. You cuddle her too much." Even my dad grunted some half laugh, like it was all just awkward but harmless. The other kids laughed too. They didn't know why kids never really do, but they followed the lead. My daughter smiled that tight, trembling smile that kids do when they're trying not to cry. My husband looked at me, not with shock, with something quieter, steadier. He crouched beside her, took the bag gently from her hands, and said, "You don't need this. Let's go get some real cake." We stood up. I didn't say a word, neither did he. We took her hands and walked out of that house like we were walking out of a burning building. No one tried to stop us. No one called after us, not even my sister at home. My daughter sat on the couch and stared at the glitter stars on her birthday cards like they might rearrange themselves into a reason, she asked. Was it because I didn't say thank you fast enough? I said, "No, sweetheart. It was because some people forget how to be kind." She nodded. Pressed the cards to her chest, like they might guard her heart. She fell asleep on the couch, curled up under the soft throw blanket her dad gave her. Last Christmas, the one that says you are safe, you are strong, you are loved. I sat in the kitchen while my husband made tea. Neither of us said much. We didn't have to. This wasn't new, just final. After a while, he said, I paused the payments, the rent, the grocery card, the electric fund, all of it. I nodded. I opened the drawer where we kept the important stuff, pulled out the folder. I'd been adding to quietly over the years, text messages, photos, a printout of the email. where my sister asked if I could take care of her kids for a week so she could go on a much-needed solo reset trip, the Venmo receipts, the one where I covered our parents' property tax, and they said, "We'll pay you back after the cruise." The folder was thick. I added one last thing. The sticky note, "Try harder, next year." I slipped it into a clear sleeve right on top. My husband watched me, didn't say a word. But when I looked at him, he nodded. Not like someone giving permission, like someone saying, "Finally, tomorrow morning, I drop something off quietly." No message, no confrontation, just truth. They wanted to teach my daughter a lesson, fine. They were about to learn one too. It didn't start with my daughter. That's the part that really hurts. It should never have reached her. She should have been safe, protected, loved by her entire family, not just the one she was born into. But it did start long before her. It started with me growing up in my house meant learning how to perform, how to twist yourself into whatever version of a child got the least amount of criticism that day. It meant reading the room before you even learned to read a book. It meant silence was safer than honesty, and pretending to be happy was easier than explaining why you weren't. Emma was always the favorite. That was never said out loud, not directly. But it didn't have to be. It was in the tone of voice my parents used, when they spoke to her, in the way they lit up at her stories, even when they were dull, in the way my accomplishments were acknowledged, with a distracted, "That's good," while Emma's most minor wins were met with celebration cake and 50 family group texts. I remember once in 3rd grade, I came home clutching a certificate for perfect attendance. I had fought through colds and stomach aches just to earn that paper. I handed it to my mother with pride, and she barely glanced at it before saying, "Emma got Student of the Month. You know, that's a much bigger deal." When I brought home a B+ in math, a subject I had struggled with for months, my dad said, "Your sister never brought home less than an A when I got the lead in the school play. They didn't come." Emma had a volleyball game, a practice game, not even a tournament, but it was important to her. So they said they'd try to make the next one. They never did. Birthdays were the worst. My parties were always joint celebrations with Emma, even though our birthdays were nearly 2 months apart. My name was an afterthought on the cake one year. They gave us one present to share. It was a pair of rollerblades, Emma's size. I was always too much or not enough, too quiet, too dramatic, too shy, too opinionated. I cried too easily. I asked too many questions, thought back. I sulked. I didn't smile enough. I didn't smile the right way. There were no bruises, no yelling, just a constant low hum of not measuring up, and then being told I was sensitive for noticing. When I was 15, I came home crying after a teacher accused me of cheating on a test. I hadn't. I was devastated. My mom's response was, "Well, you do keep to yourself a lot. Maybe you look suspicious next time. Try to smile more and act normal." At 17, I finally got the courage to tell my parents I thought I might be depressed. My mom rolled her eyes and said, "That's the new trend, isn't it? Everyone thinks they're depressed. They're just bored. Find a hobby." Emma told me I was being dramatic, then borrowed my phone charger and never gave it back. By the time I left for college, I was numb. I didn't expect them to come to move in. And they didn't disappoint. They mailed me a card a week late with $25 and a sticky note that said, "Don't blow it." I didn't blow it. I got through school, found therapy, learned how to name things: emotional neglect, scapegoating, passive-aggressive control. I learned how to unlearn it when I met my husband. I still carried the fear of being too much. I even apologized once for crying during a movie. He didn't make a big deal out of it, just handed me a tissue and said, "That scene really hit, huh?" Like it was the most natural thing in the world. He was the first person who ever asked me what I actually wanted for my birthday, and not only asked, but got it right. Not because he guessed, but because he truly listened. When I told him about my family, I softened the truth, made it sound eccentric rather than hurtful. He didn't pry, but after meeting them for the first time, he quietly squeezed my hand under the table once dinner was over and said, "You weren't exaggerating." I let my family back into my life once our daughter was born. I wanted her to grow up with a big family, cousins, holiday traditions, doting grandparents. I wanted her to have the kind of childhood I never got. At first, the comments were subtle. My sister made remarks about my daughter's outfits. She dresses a bit different, doesn't she? My mom insisted on forced affection. Don't be rude, sweetie. Give Uncle Bill a proper hug. My dad made fun of her when she cried at loud sounds. She'll need to toughen up if she wants to survive in this family. I tried to explain. I told them she had sensory processing challenges, that she needed understanding, not ridicule, that she was trying her best. They brushed me off, rolled their eyes. You're overreacting, they said. Emma accused me of being a snowplow parent, claimed I was raising a future pushover. And the moment I began setting boundaries, I became the issue. I was labeled the problem, the difficult one, the dramatic one. Every time I stood up for my daughter, I was met with the same weapons they once used on me: dismissal, sarcasm, cold shoulders. Sometimes they even acted like they pitied me, which hurt more. She just wants to feel important, I once overheard my mother whisper to Emma, unaware I was within earshot. Let her have this, she said, as if defending my child was a passing phase or a meltdown. And I let it slide. I let it go more times than I could possibly count, because part of me still hoped they might change, might finally understand, might finally see her. But they never did. They only saw themselves, their need to feel in control, their obsession with the family pecking order. My daughter wasn't an individual to them. She was just next in line to receive the same treatment they gave me. Only this time I recognized it, and this time I had a choice. I could keep giving them opportunities to chip away at her, the way they did to me, or I could end it. I chose her. I chose me. And tomorrow, they'll understand exactly what that means. We didn't get much sleep that night. My daughter eventually drifted off, still clutching the birthday card she'd made for her cousins in her tiny fingers. I stayed awake on the couch, staring at the blinking cursor on my screen, daring me to finish what I'd begun. At 4:07 a.m., I emailed the landlord, the one who manages the duplex where my sister lives. I explained that I would no longer be covering the monthly supplement we'd agreed upon. It was never officially documented, but the landlord knew my name, knew the rent always came from our bank account. His reply came within 20 minutes. Understood. I'll inform her of the updated balance today. At 4:00 a.m., exactly, my husband began drafting the letter to the loan company about the car. Our names were on the paperwork. Our credit was on the line. Our money had made the down payment. Emma had defaulted twice before we stepped in. This time, we didn't step in. We stepped out at 6:02 a.m. We printed everything, text emails, screenshots of group messages where my daughter was called difficult, where Emma wrote, "She's going to be just like her mom, oversensitive and exhausting." There was even a voice memo, a clip from Christmas 2 years ago, when my mother, not realizing my husband was recording a family moment for posterity, leaned into Emma and said, "Don't bother getting her anything nice. She never appreciates it anyway. They were talking about me by 7:00 a.m. It was all in the folder. Labeled, annotated, bound with a crimson ribbon I found in the junk drawer. A ribbon from one of Emma's kids' birthdays. I didn't plan that part. It just felt right at 7:30. We drove to my sister's house. No words. Just the envelope. My husband placed it gently on the doormat. We rang the bell and left. We were halfway down the street when we heard it. The scream. The unrestrained sound that ripped out of her like it had been living in her throat for years. I didn't turn around. My husband gripped the steering wheel tighter, and for a moment he smiled. Later, I found out the neighbor came outside in his robe, assuming someone had been hurt. He called the police when he saw Emma on the front lawn, red-faced and frantic, clutching the folder like it was radioactive when the officers arrived. She tried to tell them it was harassment, that her crazy sister was trying to destroy her life. They flipped through the folder, then they calmly told her it was a civil matter. Nothing illegal. Nothing worth escalating. This is the truth. By noon, my phone had exploded. 38 messages from my sister. The first few were all caps, rants. "What the hell is wrong with you? You think this is funny." Then came the guilt. "We are family. You can't do this to us." Then the begging. "Please, you can't just stop paying like this because of a joke." Then the threats. "If you don't take this back, you'll..." Regret it walked. My mother called 4 times, left a voicemail on the 3rd. "You've taken this too far. This family has always had problems, but you just lit a match. What do you want from us?" She sounded more angry than sorry. I didn't respond. Instead, I sent the digital version of the folder to our extended relatives, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, not with commentary, just a simple subject line. In case you ever wondered why we stopped showing up by the end of the day, I had 20 replies. Half of them were some version of, I had no idea. One cousin sent a single line, good for you. The real fallout started 2 weeks later. The landlord followed through. Emma had 30 days to pay the full amount or face eviction. The loan company flagged the car. Her late payments triggered a review, and she received a warning. My husband smiled when he saw the notification. My parents called my husband, not me, my husband. She won't listen to us, my mom said, but maybe she'll listen to you. Tell her we're sorry. Tell her she doesn't have to do this. He told her the truth. She's not doing this to you. You did it to yourselves. They showed up at our house the next morning. My daughter saw them through the window. Her face went pale. I met them at the door, didn't let them in. We just want to talk, my dad said. This is getting out of hand. No, I said, this is called consequences. My mom tried to cry. There were no tears. I didn't budge. They left a card in the mailbox. One of those generic sympathy ones. Inside, it said, "We miss our family." I sent it back with a sticky note, so did I, and then I went back inside where my daughter was reading on the couch, her legs tucked under a blanket, her face peaceful. She looked up and asked, "Were they mad?" I shook my head. They were loud. That's not the same. She nodded. That night, my husband took us out for ice cream. We didn't celebrate, we just breathed. But in that quiet breathing, there was something new. Peace, and it was loud as hell for about a week. There was silence, or rather quiet rage humming just beneath the surface. My sister had gone nuclear. Sure, but after the initial scream, the flurry of texts, and the failed attempts at guilt, things went dark for a moment. I thought maybe that was it. Maybe finally they had gotten the message. They hadn't. 10 days after the front door folder drop, my daughter came home from school with a note in her backpack from Emma. It was on pastel stationery with little hearts on the edges, like it was meant for a child. Inside the message was short. If you ever feel sad or confused, remember, Auntie Emma loves you. You can call me anytime, even if your mom says no. My daughter looked up at me, confused. Did I do something wrong? I felt the fury rise in my throat before I could stop it. This wasn't just about boundaries anymore. This was manipulation, targeted, deliberate, and low. I called the school immediately. Turns out my sister had used one of her friend's names to get access to drop something. Off for a niece, no ID check, no oversight, just a sticky smile and a name. That afternoon, I filed a formal no-contact order with the school, with the district, and with the police. I sent a cease and desist to both my sister and my parents. My lawyer sent a follow-up. 2 days later, a fake account started tagging me on social media, calling me ungrateful, posting blurry childhood photos with captions like, "Some people forget who raised them." Another anonymous message read, "Just remember kids grow up one day." She'll know what you did. That was the final crack. I sent everything to my lawyer, who forwarded it to law enforcement. My sister posted a crying selfie captioned, "When your family turns on you, cue the sympathy parade," until the truth started leaking quietly. One aunt, then a cousin, then another. Cousin screenshots, circulated voicemails were replayed. People saw the receipts, the same way I had. My parents didn't take it well. They tried to rally the extended family with an emergency Zoom call. I didn't attend, but apparently when someone asked why I hadn't been invited to Grandpa's birthday last year, my mother froze. Someone else asked why Emma had been using money from the family emergency fund when she's the only one with consistent income. Another asked about the birthday incident, whether the story making the rounds was actually true. It was. By the end of that call, 4 people had quietly exited the meeting. My parents stopped sharing family event photos online. My sister deactivated her account. Then the letter arrived. A desperate, rambling thing from my mother, written in blue ink on personalized stationery. Family is complicated. We made mistakes. But at the end of the day, we're all we've got. Don't punish everyone forever over one misunderstanding. Your daughter will regret the distance, and so will you. I didn't reply. Instead, I framed the letter and hung it next to the sticky note that started it all. Try harder next year. Then I helped my daughter hang fairy lights around her new bed. She chose the soft kind, the ones that change colors slowly, like they're breathing. Her breathing had changed too. Gentler now, easier, not tight and tense like before. She made 2 new friends from art class, kind, curious girls who didn't laugh when she needed earplugs or quiet time. She started sleeping through the night. One morning, she told me, "My heart doesn't feel like it's buzzing anymore." I hugged her so tightly, she let out a little squeak. And then one more thing happened. At the end of the school year, her class held a family day. Students could invite one adult to share cookies and show off their art. She picked me, of course. Her art project was a painting. Abstract swirls of galaxies and soft pink comets. In the corner, in black paint, she'd written, "Safe is better than big." On the drive home, I asked if she wanted to stop for ice cream. She said yes, then paused. "Mom?" "Yeah, baby?" "You did the right thing. Even if they say you're mean, even if they never talk to us again, you did the right thing." I blinked away the tightness in my throat. "Thank you, sweetheart. That means everything." She leaned back in her seat with a quiet smile. Later that evening, I checked my email one last time before going to bed. There was a new message from Emma. No subject, no greeting, just 6 words. "Are you happy now you won?" I didn't write back. I didn't need to, but she was wrong. I didn't win. I walked away, and for the first time in my life, I didn't look back. Maybe I went too far. Maybe I didn't go far enough. Sometimes I still think about whether I should have said something more that night at the party, or if leaving in silence was actually the loudest thing I've ever done. I wonder what my daughter will remember someday, and more importantly, what she won't have to unlearn because I stopped it in time. But now I want to ask you, if it were your child, what would you have done? Would you have walked away, pushed back harder, let it go completely? Tell me in the comments, what choice would you have made? Did I make the right call, or did I go too far? And if you want more stories like this, raw, real, and honest, hit subscribe.